Welcome to Game and a Half Podcast, the only podcast that gives you everything in gaming. My name is Kai.
And my name is Jared, and today we have a slew of topics to talk about from Reddit,
Slew is a gross word.
r/True Gaming, and r/Pokemans, because guess what? We're talking about Pokemon. It's Pokemon season. Pokemon comes out in 4 days. The excitement is oozing out of my pores.
You could say it's a slew.
It's a slew of Pokemon news, but not for some people. Some people are not very excited for this game.
Some people aren't very exciting.
Some people are not exciting.
There has never been a truer statement said on this podcast.
To the extent of being the polar opposite, extremely furious at Game Freak. So in recent news, we found out that they are cutting about half of the Pokemon from this game. So I don't really know.
I have the vapors.
That was an orgasm of excitement. So I don't know how many Pokemon are right now. Probably like in the 900s, probably over 1,000. So we would say like 400 to 500 Pokemon are going to be in Sword and Shield, which I mean, it's still a decent amount of Pokemon. I mean, and for me, I'm not upset about them cutting these Pokemon, because for me, when I'm going into these new Pokemon games, I'm excited. Like, why I'm really pumped about the game. Like, I have pretty low expectations for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, it's going to be a subpar story. There's going to be probably, like, corny writing, and I'm going to...
Whoa!
Right, exactly.
You're my rival! Blah, 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 blah.
Especially
you
now
wanna battle?
they've been introducing the friendly rival. They're not assholes like Gary.
The only way to improve is through friendship. Wow!
Right. So I expect that. I expect to battle 8 gyms and then battle the Elite Four. What I am excited about in this game, different from the rest of them, is the last 2 generations I've pretty much known the full Pokedex that was leaked. And this one, if there is like 100 to 150 new Pokemon, I know about 20 of them that they've released. So that's what's exciting, that I can run around this world and be like, look at that hot dog monster. I'm going to catch him. Yeah, I'm going to catch him.
I have done even a better job and know only the starters.
I did show you the, I did look at the final evolutions of all the starters, and I also showed you the final evolutions of the starters.
Yes, okay. I know all the starters and their evolutions.
Yes.
But I know even less.
So I was looking back at our old podcast when we first talked about, when they were first shown, and you were saying how derivative they are. Do you still stand by that derivative comment of saying the final starters?
1000%.
Really? You don't like them?
No. What are you talking about?
At least they're just not round shapes. Like, they didn't just keep that roundness to them.
I guess.
But we did get a yoked gorilla, so I'm really excited. The only problem is Grookey's middle evolution. He's a little taller, and he just got peed on, which I'm very upset about.
By peon, he means he's yellow, by the way, in case you can't translate Jared.
Not just yellow, but he's like that gross yellow-green color. I don't know. There's something about, like, I really don't like the other 2 final evolutions. I do like Grookey's, but the middle stage is just, it's throwing it for me.
Almost every grass starter has a terrible middle evolution. Bulbasaur, Ivysaur is garbage.
Bayleaf is, I really like, I don't like Meganium, but I really like Bayleaf.
Yeah, okay, Bayleaf.
And it's a delicious spice.
But do you like Bayleaf because of the anime, or do you like Bayleaf because of the anime? Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
But, like, no one in the history of the world is like, oh, yes, I'm going to keep my Ivysaur. No.
You're right.
Never once in history has that happened. So, yeah. So grass starters always the middle generation. It's just bad.
I'm probably gonna go with the rookie. If not, then
Flaming Bunny.
Flaming Bunny. I don't know. I forgot its name. I remember its last Cinderace. It's its final 11. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen.
Spoilers. They're not visual spoilers though. They're just name spoilers.
They're just
so
names, so you don't. I mean, nothing's. Really
if you can't picture it, you can't picture it. If a giant gorilla with a drum and you can picture exactly what that's gonna look like, kudos to you, man.
So people are deeming this erasing of half of. I've seen a lot of Thanos memes going around the Snap, but they've labeled this Dexit. Like
we're pausing for you to laugh.
Like Brexit.
But like Dexit.
And it takes place in the UK, which is even more ironic.
Jesus Christ.
People are clever, man.
People are dumb and angry for no reason.
I wouldn't be so upset about Dexit if the rest of the game didn't look like complete garbage. That's what r/Shinix said.
No, I thought that was your own opinion, and I was like, wow, you said something bad about a Pokemon game?
No, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm just excited about the new Pokemon. Like I don't know. It's gonna be a Pokemon game. It's not gonna blow all the rest of them out of the water. It's not gonna be the best.
It's not gonna
Pokemon
blow
game.
me.
It's not gonna blow me. You know, it's not that great. I'm not gonna let it go that far. You know? Maybe after a few dreams.
Second base. I mean,
People are saying that Game Freak is becoming the new Bethesda with all of its horror buggy. And what's even crazier is this game's not even out. Like it'd be different if people played it and then they're giving it all this like garbage.
I love that in the gaming culture, if you do anything, you're immediately the worst.
Right.
Like Game Freak or Bethesda. Like Game Freak has been consistent with making maybe not the best games, but very good games. They have a system, they have their thing, and they stuck with it. And now they're never gonna do anything different if this is how people react.
Right.
They can't just make Pokemon games forever. They have to evolve. So like you can't scream at Game Freak every time they try to do something different.
Right.
Also, like, yeah, do you need 1,000 Pokemon?
Oh.
No, it's too many Pokemon.
One thing that I read, and I like this guy's opinion, I wish I can find his Reddit page, but he said that this should have been done a while ago. Like, I think if they did this like 2 generations ago, like cutting the Pokedex, it would have made clearly this Band-Aid not as painful to be ripped off, so you'd be used to it by now. But
I mean, okay, but now you just got to get used to it now.
No, I guess you're right.
It's not
I
like
mean,
anything's changed. Also, the last Pokemon game, which everyone bought anyway, had the original Pokemon in it. Pokemon Go, or Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
Only had 150.
Only had 150, and you still liked it. You still played it. I see you, nerds. I see you. You can't get angry now and be okay with 150 Pokemon. You have 4 times the amount now, and you're still upset.
And with me, like I went back to Sun and Moon. So Sun and Moon was the first game that I ever 100% completed the Pokedex. Like every Pokemon that I caught. And every Pokemon's not available in Sun and Moon, but you can still transfer them and use them. And that's another thing people are upset about. Like, not only are these Pokemon not in Sword and Shield, you can't even transfer them from other previous games, which you couldn't anyways because they're on 3DS. So the only way would be to do it was through Pokemon Go.
I will say this. If getting rid of half of the Pokemon meant that they could do other things that were better, perfect.
And that's their whole spiel. Like before, they said they couldn't experiment with different mechanics they wanted to because they had to animate and render 1,000 Pokemon in a game. So they couldn't experiment with the things they wanted to because of that. And they said now, with cutting the decks in half, we have more opportunities to expand and...
Also, there is a skit about like the X-Men, like who gets to be on the X-Men and like cutting like them out, like Professor X is sitting there. I want to see the Game Freak team, like a skit of them bringing in, like, how do you know if you make the cut? Like,
well, how they decided was Pokemon that fit into the region.
Oh, sure, yeah. Okay.
Even though Charizard still made it clear,
Oh.
and he got like a 4th evolution.
Weird,
so, I mean,
weird how that works. Pikachu, could you come in the office, please? Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, clearly you're the cream of our crop. You're the mascot. You're in. Can you send in Plusle behind you, please? Hi, Plusle. Look, listen. Like, we've had a good run, but unfortunately, you won't be asked to come back this year.
You don't fit into what our region is really going
Look, really,
for.
you're just a skinny, multicolored Pikachu, and no one likes you, and you don't have an evolution, so no one cares. It was a bad idea in the first place, and we regret making you. Yeah. Hopefully, you'll make it into the next game.
Well, they even came out and said that they're not bringing back the national dex at all. So, because they said, like, if you're upset about, like, your favorite Pokemon not being in this one, they have a chance of being in the next one. But if they're in the next one, that means more from the original, or more from the last one will be cut out. They're not going to do all 1,000 or 1,000 plus Pokemon in one game anymore, is essentially what they said. Yeah. I mean, and for me, like I said, going back to Sun and Moon was the first game that I 100% caught all the Pokemon. And a lot of that was just transferring Pokemon from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But you know what happened to those Pokemon? They sat in a box. Didn't touch them once.
Also...
Ow.
Honestly, eventually someone would notice, but if they just didn't tell anyone,
yeah,
and then release the game, like
no, that what we talked about last time with Google Stadia, the controller thing and it being like not actually can connect to other things without a cord. That wouldn't work so well.
Wait, what is the other one? It's Plusle and
Minun. Yeah. They just add Minun and not
Minun
Plusle.
into the game.
Plusle,
I've been trying.
Can you have Minun come in after you?
All right, look, you're clearly the cool blood, so you're in. Pikachu's in the next room. Grab some punch. There's some hors d'oeuvres. Yeah, we'll see you in the UK.
We'll see you in the UK.
Where's Plusle? Ooh, got some bad news.
What am I supposed to do with my 15-year-old Blaziken?
Yo, hope. Fingers crossed Blaziken makes it into the game.
Wow. No, actually, I don't think. More spoilers. I guess I don't know if any of this is true. I've tried to be spoiler free. I've just seen people like speculate, but none of the previous starters are gonna be in the game. So there's only gonna be this generation starters and no other stars. Which for most Pokemon games, that's how it was. Like starters were supposed to be hard to find. They were supposed to be rare Pokemon, and you couldn't just find them or transfer them from other games. But people are really upset. People are so angry online.
Yeah.
But luckily, yesterday...
People are always angry online.
That's true. But yesterday, trending on Twitter in the United States was "Thank you, Game Freak," and then everyone was posting about their fond memories, which kind of seemed like a goodbye. Now that I look back at it,
I remember when they didn't suck.
but aside from that realization, it was very positive. People were saying "Thank you, Game Freak," for helping them get through tough times and mental disorders.
It's just suicide notes. They're all just goodbye letters.
I mean, honestly, thinking about it, I was
well,
like, wait a minute.
this is literally all I
They're
had
just
to live
saying
for,
I'm done with
so...
Pokemon, and they're saying thanks for everything. You suck now. Goodbye. I'm excited for it. And
the internet is a horrible place.
I finally canceled my pre-order of Pokemon Shield.
Why?
I suspected the mandatory Team EXP share would be unbalanced, which has now been explicitly confirmed. Even with all the Dexit drama, reused animations, lackluster graphics and backgrounds, I'd still plan to buy and play the game for the sake of some kind of nostalgic escapism. Being constantly over-leveled by simply going along the linear storyline turns this from a flawed but bearable release into a mindless walking simulator. No payoff is rewarding if there's no semblance of challenge involved. And not just, I mean...
Could you imagine, though, working, like, years to make a game, and before it's even released, the community that you love and support and you hope grows is just like, I hate everything you do. It's like having a 13-year-old, like, child.
Honestly.
It's like, everything you do for me is terrible, and I hate you.
I
hate you. And Game Freak's just sitting here like, why do you hate me? Why?
I mean, honestly, if you don't want to get this game and the changes they've made in Pokemon Sword and Shield are not something that you're interested in, I mean, you can not buy it.
Also, you're telling me that the difference between Diamond and Pearl and Black and White was, like, mind-blowing? You want to talk about reusing backgrounds, graphics, and animations?
I mean, there was a big difference, graphically between the two. There was more 3D animations in Pokemon Black and White, but...
It wasn't mind-blowing.
I actually think it was, like, Diamond and Pearl was...
Emerald?
No, I said Diamond and Pearl was better than Black and White, because Black and White really, like, pushed the DS, but it was, like, it was pixel art, but, like, almost 3D.
Yeah.
But then, like, all of the, like, the animations, they would stand there and, like, do this in the battle. But then when you had, like, a triple, like, rotation battle, it would be, like, so laggy, and the Pokemon would try to move, so...
They're
like,
just pop, lock, and dropping it.
It didn't really work, but, I mean, it was still a great game. But, yeah, no, I mean...
Okay, fine. Emerald and then to Diamond and Pearl. Or any of... Or Blue to... Or, like... what is it? Yeah, Red and Blue to... Gold and Silver.
Yeah,
or... There's no difference.
They had a color.
Stop complaining. You're getting a new Pokemon game. How entitled have we become as a society that we can literally destroy our parents' heart just because we disagree with some of the choices they make?
And what's funny is, like, not to this extreme, but this happened with Let's Go. Like, people were like, they took away battling Pokemon and added this stupid Pokemon Go mechanic. They're like, that's dumb. They had a shared EXP share so everyone would get same experience instead of having to switch people in each time. And people are upset about it. And the game came out and they're like, that's actually pretty good. I kind of like it.
I'm going to take a game. I'm going to take a job at GameStop. And when these people who are online, who are like,
between now and the 15th.
No, even worse. I'm too good for Pokemon. And then everyone's playing Pokemon, and they get in their sad little 1998 Corolla, and they drive their pathetic little ass down to the GameStop because a week later they see all the Let's Plays on YouTube, and they're like, oh, maybe it is good. And I'm gonna be sitting behind the counter, and they're gonna walk up to the counter with their copy of Shield or Sword or whatever, and I'm gonna slap them, just really hard, just ah, and they're like, what is that for? And I'll be like, that's for not believing. You don't deserve it. And I'm going to take it away. And then they're going to have to drive back in their crappy car back to their nothing of a life and not get to play it.
And then you'll lose your job.
Fine, that's all I wanted to do.
Go to jail for assault.
I won't go to jail.
For slapping a person?
When I explain to the police the situation,
I completely understand.
They will 100% agree.
I see where you were coming from.
What is the point of loyalty if it can be broken with one decision?
And it's so hard in the gaming industry because it's like you're making a sequel and it can't be like the last one, but it can't be too different from the last one. So you better have that perfect medium or I hate you.
It's very upsetting. Yeah. So upsetting. I'm
excited for Pokemon. I hope you will watch.
I hope it's good so that other people learn a lesson. I'm not even that connected to it, but I hope that people.
Yeah, like at least. Because Game Freak has showed little to no information about this game, aside from a couple things here and there. Everything has been from these leaks. And, I mean, I don't know if this was a good idea on Game Freak's part or not, but they, took down leaks, which may confirm that the leaks were real. But none of this has been confirmed by Pokemon, just leaks and everything. So we really don't know anything about this game. Nothing.
Also,
They could be like, hey, guys, there's actually all the Pokemon here.
And they're like, only people who pre-ordered it get it. If you pre-order it, you get a copy with all the Pokemon. If you buy it afterward, you only get half.
We've hacked all your phones.
Also,
we've heard
how amazing that would be economically? Because those copies would be worth so much money.
Oh yeah, if you had a copy that was had all the Pokemon, but you didn't say that. If you pre-ordered it at a certain time, unknowingly, you had a copy that had all the Pokemon games in it. As it was announced, if you had pre-ordered it, they're like, them. Those are the ones.
And then there's going to be those people, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah,
see,
I pre-ordered Pokemon. And they're like, oh, where's the copy? Oh, I canceled it because I thought it was going to be bad.
But see, that'd be a problem for me, because I always pre-order it the day it comes out. I've had a pre-order, yeah. I just go and pick it up. I pay for it the day of. And then, or the day before, or whatever. Thursday, I'll go pick it up. And, Thursday night, it comes out.
Why?
I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense. Well, that's a different topic of conversation. Some weird, I'm going to buy it the day before.
Well, yeah, it's Thursday. I can pick it up at 9 o'clock. I've been busy. I'll drive past there. I'll pre-order it. And then at 9 tonight.
You could just pre-order it 5 months in advance and go get it like everyone else. Why the day before? You might as well just wait for it to come out at that point.
No. I gotta have it the day before.
No.
Anyways, we've talked a lot about Pokemon. I want to know everyone's opinions on Sword and Shield. I'm getting Shield. I've made the decision. I'm getting Shield. I'm going with...
Yeah, you're going with the one that no one else is getting.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm a hipster.
It's a lot. Well, no,
It's
and...
logical.
It's logical.
I'll have more people to trade with.
Yes.
Because there's be more swords out there.
I agree with your logic. I rarely agree with your logic, but in this case, I agree with your logic.
You agree with my logic a lot. Okay. Next on our topic list. So recently, The Outer Worlds came out. And...
Not The Outer Wilds, which I will most likely mistake in this podcast at some point.
Which is another good game. You should check that out as well. But The Outer Worlds, game from Obsidian, the people that
Bethesda.
made... no. Different. They're different. Bethesda and Obsidian. Bethesda and Obsidian are two different companies. Obsidian made
Bethesda.
Fallout. Bethesda. Fallout New Vegas was published by Bethesda, but it was developed by Obsidian. And then they made The Outer Worlds. Obsidian. No.
Not Bethesda.
Not Bethesda.
That's why this isn't a Fallout game.
Right, correct. That's why it's a good game.
Oh!
Wait,
hold on. Editing. Alright.
We'll have to edit out your and add in
That's
one.
fine.
Okay, that's okay. So this game came out, and what's really cool is Game Pass has been doing day-and-date releases. So when Outer Worlds came out on Xbox and PS4 and PC, it also came out on Game Pass, which we have Game Pass. And I was not hesitant, but I hadn't installed it. I was like,
Let me tell you this story.
oh, God.
The story is called The Boy Who Loved Games. There was once a boy who loved games. So much, in fact, that he downloaded
All of them.
hundreds of games.
Too many games.
And then, one day, a game came out that everyone was like, wow, this is a pretty good game. And I was like, hey, we should try this. And the boy who loved games looked at me and said,
You forgot a crucial part. There's also an evil wizard who shamed the boy from downloading too many games and said, don't download every game that comes out.
All right.
And so when I didn't download
You're
game...
fair. There was an evil wizard, and I mean, he may have occasionally shamed the boy who loved games for downloading some games that he probably shouldn't have downloaded, like Kane and Lynch 2. Now, that being said, a game that was very good came out, and I was like, hey, boy who loves games, maybe you should download this game. And boy who loves games was like, oh, there's not enough space. I don't want to delete Kane and Lynch 2.
The boy deleted Kane and Lynch 2.
Then I had to go work for like 2 weeks, and I come back for my weekend, and all of a sudden, he's like, oh, by the way, I know that I was stubborn and didn't want to install this, but I did, and now I've put 8 hours into it without you. And the wizard is now even more angry.
The moral of the story is the Outer Worlds. It's phenomenal. It's so good. So
I wouldn't know.
So I had a problem before with in the span of wanting to download every game. I was like, I have to own these games. Now that I own them, I need to play them and I need to beat them. And I was beating a bunch of games, but I wasn't enjoying playing a lot of games. I was really enjoying... we've been playing Borderlands 3, and I love Borderlands 3, but I'm not really invested in the story too much. I just love...
Oh yeah, update on our review of Borderlands 3, because when we reviewed it the first time on this podcast, we were like, oh my god, it's amazing! Now that we're actually, like, pretty much almost done, the story is kind of, like, it sucks. The game's mechanics are great, the graphics are great.
Phenomenal. I'm enjoying it so much.
It's fun.
I just don't know what the hell's
The
going
story
on.
is terrible.
I mean, aside from... more spoilers, there is iconic characters from previous Borderlands games that come in, and some of those characters may or may not die in the game, and that's like, oh, it's like an interest gets piqued, and then it just plateaus.
But it's also interest. Like, if we didn't have Borderlands 2 to compare it to, I'd be like, yeah, this is a good game. But because of how strong the story was in Borderlands 2...
And maybe that was... because of Handsome Jack, like he was just such a great villain.
And by maybe we mean it's absolutely because of Handsome Jack.
Yeah, I was really invested in the Borderlands 2 story, and I'm not feeling Borderlands 3.
Well, like
story, I'm loving it. I'm loving the gameplay.
Just the story is not great.
Anyways, it's not about Borderlands 3. Outer Wilds. So
very different.
Started playing Outer Wilds. Yes, Kai was away, and I took advantage of that, and I started playing.
He cheated on me.
I started playing Outer Wilds, and immediately, when the first cutscene of like the story was happening, I wasn't really paying attention. But then once the gameplay came in and more story came in, I fell in love with the game. It was weird because I don't really like follow story really well in those games, like with Fallout 3 or with Fallout New Vegas or with those kind of games. I just end up exploring this vast open world, but it's kind of like there's a bunch of tiny little worlds. Like I wouldn't say it's open world by all means. Like the planets you go to are fairly large, but it's not open world, and I think that's why it's a little more digestible for me. But immediately when Kai got home, he was like, "I want to play the Outer Worlds," and I was like, "That's my baby. Can't play with my baby." And then he's like, "I'm gonna make a new game." I was like, "You know what? No, continue it. I'll give you the synopsis of the story." And I literally repeated the story of what happened to him
verbatim, which was impressive because this, as you've seen on this podcast, he is not one to remember story details.
No, but like characters' names and things that happened. Like it immediately, the first whole mission immediately hooked me, and immediately I was interested and invested on these characters. The voice acting is done really well, where it is interesting, it is enticing, it makes you feel like these characters actually have emotion and actually have feelings, and I felt like my decisions really were like affecting people, and I'm loving it. The problem is my Xbox broke, and now I can't play it anymore, and my copy of Borderlands 3 is also trapped inside of my Xbox and will never be able to escape.
No, this is first generation Xbox that probably should have been replaced a long time ago.
This is the launch 2013 Xbox One that I have. Hey, you want me to turn on?
And there's a PS4 somewhere in this room that does work, but unfortunately we only have the Xbox hooked up, and so no games can happen until we figure out this
I have a
conundrum.
Switch and a GameCube and a PS2 and all the
Yeah,
other
but the
things.
Xbox is really the center of our
main.
We play a lot of Apex.
Apex is good.
Because Apex is good because you can play it in short amounts of time, and
Little
we
bursts.
don't have a lot of time in life.
Right.
What were we
But
talking about?
so
Outer
the Outer
Wilds.
Wilds. Outer Wilds.
Outer
Worlds.
Worlds.
God.
I told you I'd do it.
So wait, with that is the article. So the someone said the Outer Worlds isn't very good. So this comes from user _ Jaws, and he says the Outer Worlds isn't very good, and the honeymoon period is already wearing off. He goes on to say that he wasn't expecting very much from this AA game. Obsidian had made, again, games like Fallout New Vegas.
By the way, this guy definitely doesn't work at Bethesda.
It's the Bethesda boy. I hate you because your game's better than ours. Yeah, and he goes on to say he has a couple comments about each kind of category of the game. So he talks about the combat. He said the combat is bad because there's like 3 types of enemies and they all run around you in a straight line or stand still and shoot you.
That's very
There's
inaccurate.
no oomph to the melee combat or game or gunplay. I will admit the oomph to the melee combat, but that's like this style of game. Like and also with the Outer Worlds, melee combat is not heavily focused. It's an option, and it's an option that I really wanted to do. But it's just like when you're running at someone with like a stick and they're just like shooting like an AK at you, it's like.
As someone who's not as picky, the melee combat is actually it's fine. It's sword combat with other people who have guns. That was never gonna be a good idea anyway. But it works when there's these big slugs. Okay, I didn't get to play a lot of it because someone cheated on me, pretty much. There's these big slug things, don't know the name. You can sword them all day, and it's great. It's a great time. And you have this I don't know if you have it, but we have it. There's this flamey sword thing. It's really cool. It's like a lightsaber. I'm down with everything in the game. Also, graphics are pretty good.
They look fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna blow you out of the water with like this looks realistic, but games don't have to all look realistic.
Think
it looks
Fallout
fine.
4 graphics.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
I would say yeah. And the next thing he talked about is the perks. So you didn't get to dive a lot into the perks, but
Shocking.
some of the perks are like carrying more weight, having more health, and running faster. And those are his 3 examples. He's like, wow, exhilarating. None of them make combat more interesting, or none of them, and they're such a niche. They're not niche enough to craft a specific character. They're totally useless for our RPing, and may as well not exist. And I actually like perks like that. Like, I like gaining more health is always useful, and there's one where you can, and this is in other open world games where if you're oh god, we always call it cucumbered, but I don't know the actual
Overcumbered.
Overcumbered, or yeah, you can't fast travel.
Yeah.
And you have a perk where you can fast travel even if you're overcumbered and stuff like that, which is cool. Like that's a cool thing to have.
Well, also they're trying to differentiate themselves from the Fallout series, which has an insane perk system.
Right.
Which
it's definitely more digestible than Fallout, which the perk system. It's very easy. It's very easy laid out.
It's almost like Obsidian was like finally free from Bethesda and was like,
right,
man, all these great ideas and none of the actual bad stuff of Fallout.
Right. The next thing he talks about is the lack of variety, just aesthetically. And I've been to 2 planets so far, and they've both looked extremely different. One was like a beaten down town that looked like it had been through the apocalypse, and one is a space station world that is all very techy and just the environment, like the people you meet and
Those are exactly the same.
What?
I'm just fucking with
I
you.
was like, wait, what did you play? You saw it. Actually, you didn't see the planet because you didn't play that. Yeah, but the 2 planets I've been to so far have had a lot of variety with them. He goes on to talk about the story, and even though the main story I'm not super invested in, and usually it's the opposite, but this game does a really good job of having really interesting side quests. Like, I hate side quests in games. I never do side quests in games. But these side quests,
Confirm.
these side quests are really interesting.
Does not do
and
side quests.
I actually really enjoy doing them. And I was telling Kai about one of the first missions you do is you have this city and there's a mayor. And the mayor's and you're like, hey, my ship crashed. I need a power cell to restart my ship. And he's like, hey, I have a bunch of people that left my city because they were not enjoying it, and they have a power cell over there. You can go take theirs. I'm like, cool. So I go to them. I'm like, hey, I need your power cell. And they're just like a group of nice people because this mayor was overworking them in this factory, and they're like, we're done with this shit. I'm out. I'm gonna leave. And I'm like, oh, I can't take your power cell. Like, you're nice people. And I'm like, okay, I'll take the power cell from the mayor. So then I go, and you have a companion with you who lives in the factory city, and she's like, wait, you can't take the power cell from the city because there's a bunch of nice people and good working citizens there too that don't deserve that. And I'm just like, well, shit, what do I do now? And then I'm like, you know what? I'll take the power away from this small organization of people that had disbanded from the city. Which was a good idea because I found out that the lady was using dead body corpses as manure for her food. It was crazy.
I don't have a problem with that, by the way.
Using corpses as
in real
manure.
life, I think that is the best thing to do with corpses. You are revitalizing the soil with the people who take everything out of the soil.
I don't know. It was weird. It was just like it just made me think like.
Also, what you didn't tell you is that after you give the other people the power cell, the mayor's like, "Oh my God, that's a great idea. We should also do that." So really, it's bad both ways.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave. I just need a power cell. You guys can go. I'm fine with it. Yeah, but I haven't played. I've played. I guess Kai was saying I've played like 7-8 hours of this game.
Which is a good amount of any game.
I've been loving it. Like going back to me just trying to play through every game just because I needed to beat it because I owned it and not enjoying games. This was the first time I was like, wow.
Also,
like having fun with this.
Knowing Jared my entire life, this is not the type of game that he likes.
Yeah.
I could not get him to play Fallout 4 if I wanted to. I like Fallout 4.
I did not like Fallout 4.
I've tried to get him to play Fallout 4 hundreds of times.
It's boring.
And he thinks it's boring. And he for some reason.
I love the Outer Worlds.
Yep.
They did Obsidian. You did something right, because Fallout 3 I loved because I just ran around with a nuke and blew things up.
That's not a good reason to love that game.
And Fallout 4 I didn't like because it was boring. And I thought oh, you can build your own like town, that's cool, and it's just janky as shit and doesn't work. And I was like, you know what?
And that's why
this isn't for me.
that's why Obsidian was like, how about we take this idea and we just tweak it a little bit.
Right. Because I remember I didn't play a lot of Fallout New Vegas, but I remember enjoying Fallout New Vegas as well.
Yeah. All right. Well,
next on our list is Kai. What makes a game a 10 to you? So this article,
big rack, fat ass, dark
Perfect.
skin.
Dark skin. Thank you. This article comes from user New York State. I can't do a New York accent, but I really wish I could. He's like, I was looking at reviews of Death Stranding, which sits firmly at an 86 on OpenCritic. Many sites give
firm 86.
Sounds gross. Many sites give it anywhere from 3.0 all the way up to a 10. IGN gave it a 6.8. Its rival Steam GameSpot gave it a 9, 1 point lower than another recently released game, Disco Asylum 10. I don't know what that is. And he just talks about like what makes a game a 10. Why are some companies giving a game a 10 while the other companies giving the game a 6? And I mean, logistically, the reason is because two different people are reviewing the games. I mean, it's hard with like gaming companies like IGN or GameSpot or like companies that handle like what's the word I'm thinking of? Not press, but like news outlets. Sure.
I don't know what you're going for.
News outlets. One person reviews the game, but it's kind of like the entity as a whole gave this game that thing, even though it's someone in the office at IGN might have thought.
The entity has to agree with the person because they are representing the entity.
For the most part, but there can be a handful of people at IGN that are like,
right.
I gave Death Stranding a 10, but this guy gave it a 6.8, and objectively they gave it a 6.8, or at GameSpot they gave it a 9, and someone's like, I actually thought it was more of a 6.8.
Ah, yes. Like rating everything, whether it be music, movies, television, or games. This is art, and it's all personal, so as fun. I know you people. I know you spend every waking moment watching YouTube videos of Let's Plays and reading IGN, but guess what? At the end of the day, you might enjoy something that they don't enjoy.
Shocker.
Oh, it's so shocking.
I really like, there's a YouTube channel called Game Ranks, and what they do is they
rank games.
They rank games, but they do a thing called Before You Buy. And Before You Buy consists of some facts about the game, and then their own personal opinions on it. They don't slap a number on it. They're like, here's some stuff about the game. Here's what I thought about the game. What do you think about the game? And I really like reviewing systems like that. Like, if I was going to review games, I wouldn't slap a number on them because the numbers are so... not derivative, but it's kind of like... I don't know, a game could be a 9 for one reason, and another game could be a 9 for a completely different reason. I would rather just give you my personal opinions on what I think the game is and not slap a number and attach a number to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, people look for different things in games. So,
Right.
like, Slime Rancher to me is a 10. And
Slime Rancher is not a 10 for me. Okay.
I was going to get there
Since this is what makes the game a 10 to you, why is Slime Rancher a 10 to you?
because it is the most enjoyable, relaxing, colorful game that I've ever played. Because the graphics are not hyper realistic, which
Right.
doesn't stress me out.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanics, there's nothing about that game where you're like frustrated about the mechanics. And that's because it is a very easy game to play.
Mhm.
It's not very complicated. And I'm not saying that that's what makes it 10 for me, but the mechanics are so fleshed out and they're so perfect that you're never taken out of the game.
Right.
And also I just like farming sims. So like I was always going to enjoy that.
And see, like on the flip side, like a game that would make a 10 for me is a little different. Like Breath of the Wild, it's 100% a 10
It's
for
not
me.
a 10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a 10, not just gameplay wise, and we kind of talked about this last time with the article.
There
about Breath
are
of the Wild.
glaring issues in all games.
Yes.
That it has to come down to the person whether it's a 10 or not.
Right. For me, I think I'd be hard to give Outer Worlds a 10. I would say it's pretty damn close. Like if it's a game that could like pull me in for hours and I'm just like, oh, I've been
No
playing
Man's Sky is
this
a 10 for me.
Yeah, I enjoyed my experience with No Man's Sky, and I think it's also different too because one person can play No Man's Sky and enjoy their experience, another one can play and not enjoy their experience, but it's how they experienced it. Like with me and you, we played a lot of No Man's Sky together, and we have fond memories with playing No Man's
Borderlands
Sky
2
together.
as
Borderlands 2, yeah, I would.
You
definitely
hated Borderlands 2. We played it together,
Hated
and I
Borderlands
think that's
2.
a 10 for me as well.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
because of Handsome Jack, honestly.
Right.
Because of how good that story was.
And for me, it wasn't only Handsome Jack, but it was playing it cooperatively. Because
Yeah.
I had played it before single player, and I probably played, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours into it. And maybe you could say that I didn't put enough time into it, but I was like, this is boring. This game sucks. And then I was like we should play it. And then we played it, and I was like, this game's amazing.
It's amazing.
This game's I had so much fun with it.
Pokemon's a 10.
Guys, hold on. Did you hear that? Kyle said a nice thing about Pokemon.
I did say a nice thing about Pokemon.
Gave it a 10.
Not
Why
all of them are a 10.
but,
Okay.
But them as a collective entity.
Them
is
as a
10?
collective entity and Emerald, personally. Because that's the one I got the most enjoyment out of, is a 10 for me.
I have a lot of really fun memories playing Diamond Pro with you, though. Like,
Yeah.
we played a lot of Diamond Pro.
I would say the first Pokemon's a 10. Because,
Yeah.
like, no, okay, even if you're just looking at it from a cultural perspective, great. But that was like, no one had done that yet. That was a
Right.
completely new idea. There was no Pokemon before the first Pokemon game, and they were
There's
just
games
like,
that had tried and they were similar, that some of them were Japan exclusives
Yeah.
and stuff, but for the most success-wise, games that were in that stuff. Well, the problem is like JRPGs like that weren't popular in the States, and they didn't think Pokemon was going to go anywhere in the States. Because, I mean, it came out like 2 years before it came out here, and people didn't think it was going to go anywhere in the States. And now look, we're 20 plus years later, and it's still up.
Alright, so we've talked a lot about games that we think are 10s, but what do you think makes a game a 10? And you can go first, and then I'll give my opinion.
I think this question is hard because it depends on the type of game as well. I think a good story in a game makes a game a 10 because if it has a really engaging, like I think about the Last of Us story,
Like Pokemon.
like Pokemon, riveting story. I think about games like The Last of Us where I'm literally like, it's a game where I don't have the controller in my hand. Like I have it sitting next to me and I'm like leaned in my chair, like interested in this narrative that's happening. And so much so where it's like I'm invested to these characters. Like I think Uncharted 4 was a 10. Like the story on Uncharted 4 was phenomenal. Like I loved, just that overall experience. Like the game looked beautiful. Like it played really well. And not only that, like I put down the controller and could just watch this narrative play out and be and can be enticed by all of that. So I don't know. It's hard because it depends on the type of game that I'm looking into. I mean, something that I think is fun and enjoyable and that I could just, spend hours playing and can just sink hours into it. I think that would make a game a 10 for me. I think there's a lot of different collective things that come together to make a game a 10. And something might have one thing that's really good, but then another thing that's lacking. So.
For me personally.
I don't know, man.
What?
I don't know. It's a hard question.
Oh, yeah. For me, the thing that makes a game of 10 is... The thing that makes it a 10, like over a 9, is being able to get out of it what you put into it. Like, and that's what I like about Slime Rancher. If you don't feel like putting a lot into it, you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna, like, fuck around. But if you want to do something, like, technical, you can do the whole scientific part of it. Or if you look at a game like Grand Theft Auto, if I want to, like, be challenged, I can do the story, but if I just want to play with it. In Borderlands, I can just go around and shoot things and be silly, or I can play the story. In Pokemon, I can go and just, like, walk around and battle people, or I can try to beat the Elite Four. It's like, it's always there for whatever my mood is, and that's what makes a game a 10 for me.
I think Minecraft does a great job at that.
Yes.
Minecraft is definitely a 10. You can go into Minecraft and just mess around and play around and do nothing. You can go very intricate and make crazy contraptions with... And I tried doing that, making like a rail cart, and that shit is difficult. Or there's an actual story that you could follow. You can go to the ender, you can fight the dragon, like...
Yeah.
But depending on what your mood is...
You can design something,
Right.
You can try to survive, you can kill stuff. That's what makes Minecraft amazing, though. That's what makes it such a successful franchise.
Right, and I think boiling it down even farther is a game would be a 10 if it could get multiple people of different play styles or even different genres into the game. Like, if... And I think Pokemon tries to do this, sort of, with, like, hitting all ages. Like, there's kids that play Pokemon, and there's adults that can enjoy Pokemon. There's kids that can get a lot out of Minecraft, and there's adults that can get a lot out of Minecraft. Like, if you can do that, I think that's a 10, essentially. Like, if you have multiple generations of people enjoying these games and different types of enjoyment. One is very intricate into Minecraft, the very, like, scientific and technical part of it. Another part is just making a giant dirt hill and jumping off of it into some lava. Like, that's just, both of those enjoyments
Which is something
are valid.
that, there was a topic on Reddit that talked about this, which is the easy entry, hard, like, mastering. Aspect of gaming, which is, like, that's what makes these games great, is a game that, like is very approachable on the outside. No Man's Sky is very approachable on the outside. Minecraft is very approachable on the outside. Even Grand Theft Auto is incredibly approachable on the outside. And the more you get into gaming, the more you can find in them. Minecraft has endless things you can do.
Right.
And you don't have to do them. It's not a requirement. And No Man's Sky has literal endless things you can do. And it's not a requirement. You get what you put into it, and whatever your level is, whatever your technical ability is what will match it, which is, phenomenal.
And I think that's, like, the sweet spot there is easy to pick up, hard to master.
Yeah.
So people complain about, like, even with, like, we just talked about Pokemon, like, games being too easy. Like, this game doesn't have any challenge to it. But then the whole community around, like, the Dark Souls games, where it's, like, incredibly difficult, and there's a draw to that, but that also pushes a lot of players away from those games because they're too difficult to even come in and even harder to master. So it's like that perfect medium where it's like, it's still simple to come in, but it's still extremely difficult to master.
Well, also
this
with Pokemon, like, you have the option to make it harder on yourself.
Right.
Like,
there's things that have been set up and created to make Pokemon games harder.
Yeah.
You don't Nuzlocking and stuff like that.
You don't have to use items.
Right.
Or
Pokemon centers.
There's also more into Pokemon games than just the story. You can do breeding. You can do competitive. You can work on IVs and EVs, and you can work on...
Not that I won't ever make more excuses to talk about Pokemon, but they've made that extremely easier in this game. Like, you can change your Pokemon's EV, like, on the fly. You can change its natures and everything. It makes getting into the competitive scene easier, which I've always wanted to do. Like, I've always been interested in the competitive aspect.
It's fun as spending 12 hours of my day trying to breed two Bulbasaur together
Right,
to get a modest temper.
Right, exactly. I don't have the time or the patience for that. So they're like, hey, you can just give it this berry and it changes its nature. I'm like, that's why I play a lot of Pokemon Showdown, because you can create your teams and give it the nature and IVs you want, and you could just battle with it. And I was like, if that was the case, I would do a lot more competitive battling, but I don't have the time to sit and watch two Bulbasaur fuck on the floor to hopefully get a modest Bulbasaur. I don't got time for that.
I mean, nobody got time for that. And then what? After that, you have to deal with an Ivysaur for literally an eyesore for two
I
2 months.
I see what you did there.
See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
All right.
So yeah, we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, we're gonna be talking about games that were supposed to age well and didn't age very well, and games that did age well. And then we're gonna be talking about our Game of the Year predictions, our nominees, and games we think are gonna be Game of the Year. So
See you in a minute.
back. I'm gonna drink some water.
So we are talking about games that we thought were gonna age well,
That didn't.
but didn't actually age very well. And then we're gonna talk about games that aged exceptionally well, and games we thought weren't gonna age well, and then kind of did. Like for me, Tetris. So
Tetris.
I guess I'll start with
I don't
my,
even know where to start
with my
with
first
this.
hot take of
What's your
games that
hot-
I thought were gonna age really well. Just Cause 2. I loved that game. I thought this is a forever game, and I recently played Just Cause 2,
I guess I agree with you.
and I was like, wow, this is some hot garbage.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, and I just talked about this, where the following games had added so much more that you go back to the second one and you're like, man, I can't fly around with a jetpack? What am I even doing here?
What am I even doing?
Yeah, I agree. We played a ton of Just Cause 2.
Like, I have fond memories of that game, and I did not remember how bad it looked graphically. Like,
Oh, yeah. I remember what was cool was in high school, before I bought Just Cause 2, because Just Cause 2 was a exceptionally large game for the time, and it still is a pretty large game, even to today's standards. But there's a small, I say small comparative to the size of the map, desert area, and then the demo, you have that entire desert area. But I spent like hours just in that area because it was so huge. I didn't even need the game at that point. I bought the game and I was like, there's more? Didn't even realize there was more. But 3 and 4 had added so much quality of life things that going back to 2, it's just like, Now, talking about games that didn't age well, I mean, do games with sequels really count? Because for the most part, sequels improve on the last game.
but I don't even think, like, even given the option between Just Cause, the newer ones, and let's be honest, it's just Cause 3, because Just Cause 4 is just not that different. It just adds
Yeah.
weather. So it's just Cause 3. So even given the option to not play Just Cause 3, and
I
like,
got a good one.
like if Just Cause 2 was the only game, I'd just go to other games. Like,
Right.
but when I played that game, I was like, this is gonna be huge.
A game that I played as a kid that, I mean, the problem is, like, I didn't think as a kid, like, this is going to be, maybe I did think this is going to be huge, but...
Banjo-Kazooie.
Well, no, because Banjo-Kazooie inspired a ukulele, which is, it's like, it's a successor, so I would say Banjo-Kazooie was pretty big deal.
Yeah, such a big deal that it inspired a terrible sequel.
Hey, ukulele
Is garbage.
is good.
Is
I've
hot
never played it,
garbage.
but it's
The
good.
reviews say it's garbage.
There's actually another game that came out recently called, when this game came out, I thought it looked like garbage. It's called Super Lucky's Tale, a new Super Lucky's Tale, but people playing it said they preferred New Super Lucky's Tale to ukulele, and then a Hat in Time is another one of those 3D platformer kind of things. I was like, oh. Anyways, another one that I thought was going to be big because my good old friend the Blue Hedgehog has still stuck around, but Sonic Adventure Battle 2. I haven't played Sonic Adventure Battle 2 in a while, because I played a lot of that one, but I played a lot of the original. I played the original recently. It's like, but it's one of those, like,
Oh.
but it's kind of like
All
how,
Sonic games now to me are just like some weird fever dream where like everything moves way too fast and I just feel lost.
I mean, look at this picture that on the description is just
Oh, it's horrible.
Sonic
It's
running
just
away from a polygonal
just
killer whale.
Man,
But
those
no,
games.
I mean, it's funny because games like this, they haven't aged well, but they kind of put themselves into a category how, like, we like really B-tier, B-list movies. It's kind of like one of those games that
These
are
are
so
bad that it's good.
They're good, yeah, because there's still, like, terrible game design where you, like, run through rocks and you're, like, going off a ledge and it's just, like, you just float forever. And it's like, this game is garbage, but, I mean, Sonic is still making games. Sonic Forces came out 2 years ago, and they're making a movie about Sonic.
Yeah, but
so.
they're not good. So it's the Banjo-Kazooie principle of like, okay, just because it has offshoots doesn't mean it was good.
Now, this isn't even like spin-offs. These are just legit Sonic. Sonic is still
Oh,
trying to hold on.
Game that I thought was going to be huge, and I still think should be huge, but isn't for some reason, is Pokemon Coliseum.
I thought Pokemon Coliseum was going to be huge too. I wanted Coliseum to be. I love the spin-off Pokemon games, but I wanted to be more like
Smash Bros.
Stadium.
Oh, okay.
No,
Like
Pokemon Stadium, where like you choose your Pokemon,
Yeah,
you battle with friends and stuff like that. But they wanted a more. They wanted a more narrative heavy.
Yeah.
So they made the gameplay third person and kind of just like Final Fantasy, walking down hallways and Pokemon battles and stuff like that. It was. I mean, it inspired a sequel. There was a sequel to that, Gale of Darkness, but after that,
But it's not like, it's not in the cultural,
no.
like, it's not like Pokemon games. Like,
No.
and I love those games. I love Stadium. I love Coliseum. Like,
Stadium so
they're
much.
they're the best part of Pokemon. It's exactly what should be in Pokemon because it's like if you just want the battle part of Pokemon, like it's perfect. And now with like online battling, it's a no-brainer for them just to make a game where you just have all 1,000 Pokemon you can battle online.
Well, and see, someone like already did that.
Yeah.
Someone created Pokemon Showdown, which is just every single Pokemon, you build your team and you fight with people.
Mhm.
Why can't you? I mean, say you don't want that in your core games because the whole point is catching Pokemon.
Yeah.
But have like a spin-off where it's just like, here's every game, build your team and fight
What's
with people.
another name for a large place where things happen? Pokemon Concert Hall.
Pokemon Concert Hall. But yeah,
Pokemon Arena. There we go.
I have so many fond memories playing Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah.
And Pokemon Stadium 2.
On the
like
N64,
the gold
yeah.
cartridge.
Games that did not age well.
Okay, here's one that's not necessarily that old, but games that I thought were going to be really big. I thought Anthem was going to be huge.
Okay, well, yeah, but it sucked.
No, I know. Well, that's the point. Games that we thought were going to be that were going to like age well and last forever.
Yeah.
That didn't. I thought like when Anthem was coming out, I was like, this is going to be great. Like the demo came out and they're like, you mean it's not great, but they'll do better at it, and then they're like.
Here's
jumped
one
off
that's
of it.
here's one that's culturally was supposed to Destiny.
I mean, Destiny still has a big cult following to it, though. Still, like Destiny 2 is still have.
That's what I'm saying though. Not Destiny 2.
The
Not the
original
franchise.
No,
Destiny. Because
Okay.
they were saying this is gonna be a 10-year game. It's
That's
gonna
true.
last forever.
That's true.
It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna update it forever.
And then, like, 3
and
years
then they
later,
were
like,
like,
Destiny 2.
they were like, oh man, this is bad. Destiny 2.
Yeah.
The company thought Destiny was gonna be a 10-year game.
And then they're even like, it's still not doing good. Let's just make it free to play and then just add expansions to it, which
Yeah.
was probably their best idea yet. Because Destiny 2 and its first year expansion is free to play now. And then they just add $30 expansions onto it, which is genius. I feel like
Yeah.
that's great. You give a free game, you just add $30 expansion, which was just like
There's a
$60
lot of gamers
experience.
who disagree with you, but yeah.
I think it's great. I had another one. A franchise that had a lot of games that I thought would keep going. Do you remember playing Twisted Metal?
Yes.
The car racing, like apocalypse arena
Yeah,
shooter
yeah,
with
yeah.
the cars. I thought that was going to be huge, and I think it only lasted until PS2. I don't think there was one on PS3. Maybe there was. I think Black was on PS2.
Spyro games.
I don't know. Spyro got remade for Spyro. Yeah, Spyro just got a reimagining. Same with like Crash Bandicoot.
But are they good? Like, would you play a Spyro game now?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't buy one, but if someone's like, "Here's a free Spyro game," I'd play it.
Yeah, but like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you bought a copy of Super Mario Sunshine for $60 for GameCube.
No, I bought it for like $30.
It was not $30.
It was like $45.
Yeah, for a game that's like, at this point, 13, 14 years old, and you bought it almost at full market price 13 years later.
It's so good.
Exactly.
It's so good. I love it. Here's a controversial one, because I'm looking at the site that I guess is just wrong because all these games have been amazing. But this one says Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda. I don't know. I mean, that game still has a huge cult following. I mean, we played through the Legend of Zelda, and it's kind of like that sequel thing. Like, the sequels had done so much better than the original.
There's also a difference between, I think, like, calling something, like, saying something that doesn't work. Like, it's also like you have to take into consideration the time.
Well, yeah.
Because like that was peak technology at that time.
Right.
That they were working with all they had.
But like people nowadays would go into The Legend of Zelda and would not be able to beat it without a walkthrough.
But I think the fact that
And they
there's
would get
still,
frustrated
I
and
think that
stop.
there's still a cult following for that game disproves that it is like overrated.
Right.
Like there are still people playing that game.
I don't know. If you go on Twitch, there's still like Legend of Zelda.
Right.
It's like at least top 50 on like games that are being played on Twitch and streamed. Yeah. And we just tried playing through it not too long ago. Like a
And
year
it's
or
not
two ago.
fun.
No,
It's hard.
I-
It's really hard.
I beat it on the, say, I bought it on the 3DS. It was like $2 or something. And I beat it on 3DS. And I was like, this game's great. I love Legend of Zelda. That's what started it all.
That's also like this. I know this list contains things like Mario Kart, which is like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Mario Kart is still so accessible. It's so fun. Like,
I think they might be thinking like that game specifically. Like, why go back and play it when you have this shiny new thing? Like, why play the Super Nintendo version of Mario Kart if you have 8?
because it is one of the very few games in which the core fun aspect of it doesn't change.
Right.
You get
I
this.
agree.
I get the same. Well, I don't know about you. I get the same enjoyment. I get the same enjoyment out of playing Mario Kart on N64 as I could playing it on a new system on the Switch.
Right.
And the reason is because they didn't lose what was good about it. And that's like a lot of games do that. Like Just Cause is a perfect example.
Mhm.
It's like you're right. There's a better version of it. So
Right.
why go back to it?
Right.
But if you get the same enjoyment out of like, you know, San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 5 are a perfect example.
Right.
I will play San Andreas because it is a phenomenal game.
Right.
And because I just like that game. That's a world I'm used to. I will also play 5 because it's a phenomenal game, but I will not play 4.
It's the weird middle child.
4 is a perfect example of a game that should have been amazing. It's New York. It's crime. It's a Grand Theft Auto game. It had everything going for it.
Right.
Also, I would like to say, repping West Coast, by the way, that the 2 best Grand Theft Auto games
That's right.
in history are San Andreas, which takes place in Los Angeles, and
GTA 5
GTA
takes
5
place
in
in Los Santos.
Los Santos, which is also Los Angeles.
Which
So
I mean, San Andreas is in GTA 5 too. Like you can go
Yeah.
into San Andreas into GTA 5.
I'm just saying, though, we win.
LA.
LA. LA.
Kyle's breaking things.
Yeah, but GTA 4 is hot garbage. Yeah. Other games. Lego Star Wars.
And see that that one's hard too because that franchise is still pumping games out.
Yeah, but it's so those games are so bad.
But it's just
The new ones are very relaxing, which is why I have a friend at school and he loves those games, and the reason he loves those games is because they're literally the most relaxing games
Yeah,
on the
you just
planet.
play. I love Lego games. I really do. I didn't like when they started just being like less humor and more like word for word from the movies. Like the new Lego Star Wars was just like a word for word remake of the new Star Wars movies, and I was like, I like their quirky like like the noises they make. And if you're gonna add voice acting to it, that's fine. Just don't make it scene for scene your movie. Like I like all the quirky stuff that the Lego games had brought to the table. But
Speaking of Star Wars games, Battlefront 1.
phenomenal game.
Phenomenal. A
And
game that
that game did age well because
not only did it age well, it's better than the current game.
yeah, and then it was added to Steam, and even after they added online multiplayer and everything, and people preferred playing that Battlefront over these ones.
Yeah.
I remember people agreeing that the remake at Battlefronts were gorgeous. Like
They
for the
were.
time, they were beautiful, and sound quality too. I remember hearing like the grenades go off,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just sounding great. But
Still a garbage game. They also ruined it by trying to modernize it by they didn't do any of the good parts of the first Battlefront series.
and then when they
And
tried doing the second one,
B EA ruins everything it touches. So
that's not true. Apex, EA.
yeah, but EA I have a feeling had a far relationship with Apex.
You think so?
Yeah.
And also just like Respawn's like keeping them in check.
Well, yeah, that's what
just like-
I think EA went to Respawn and was like, "Hey, we need like a big battle royale game." And then Respawn was like, "We'll do it in the Titanfall, we'll do it in our engine and
Right.
we'll build it for you."
And they have Star Wars coming out this month too. The Star Wars Fallen Order is
Dear
from
God,
EA.
I hope it's good.
And Titanfall. So hopefully, from Respawn that made
Yeah.
Titanfall, and people have said that it feels similar to like the wall running in Titanfall because that was kind of their big, iconic mechanic that when Titanfall came out, it was like you can wall run and everything in this first-person shooter.
Very anime.
Which we play Titanfall too, and it is chaotic. Like it is, but it's fun. Like I just bought it recently because it was cheap, and I
That is
forgot
a
how much I
game
loved playing Titanfall
that I
too.
will say now will be remembered as a great game that probably doesn't get as much.
Well, because it led into Apex.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it's
not
that
not
world.
only that, but I just think Titanfall never got the due that it deserved.
Mhm.
And like if I had to make predictions of games, like if I had to do what I failed at doing, as we've discussed in this segment already, if I had to say a game that I think is gonna be like significant and a game that I think is gonna age really well, Titanfall is probably one of those games.
Do you think they'll make a third? Or their focus is too much on
Apex?
On Apex.
They've made so much money on Apex.
Yeah, there's not gonna be a third time.
If Apex wouldn't been as successful as it is,
Probably.
they would have made a third. But because Apex has become pretty much the next Fortnite, they have to focus on it.
Right, that's true.
And they've been really good at focusing on it.
Yeah, they've done a great job, like continually supporting Apex with good quality content.
Now that's an interesting topic though, because previously sequels you could go back to, but with now more of the changing and uploading things how they do in Apex, like they have the potential to ruin that game. And you'll never be able to get back the thing that made it good.
Right.
Because perfect, like Grand Theft Auto, like when you bought 4 and it sucked, even though at the time we didn't know it sucked, you could have played the games previously. But if they would have just updated the previous game to be in a different area,
Right.
like you never get that back. You can never go back to the other version of it.
Right. It's true.
So like, that is probably the best argument that I have just come up with for physical copies, is that if you have physical copies of things, they can't change them.
Right.
So like, I hope that they are careful
Don't
with
go
Apex.
digital.
I hope they're careful with Apex, because we can't go back. There's no reverse time for you know digital.
It's like the age old saying is once you go black, you cannot go back.
Great. Red Dead.
Red Dead.
Red Dead is a game that is better than its sequel.
Yes.
Red Dead Redemption is better than Red Dead Redemption 2 by a mile, and it will always be remembered that way.
And see, I don't remember doing much in Red Dead, but I remember having more fun in Red Dead than in Red Dead 2.
Red Dead 2 is too pretty and too big.
Yeah. There's just a lot of nothing.
Just like black penises.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Oh.
And on that note, our next topic. So, with the end of the year coming up, 2019 is coming and going. We have the Game of the Year. Game Awards comes out. Starts next month, and we got talking on what games are going to be Game of the Year this year.
Game of the year.
I'm gonna make that the jingle for this segment.
That's how I feel about this year, by the way.
But this is a big year. I feel like there's a lot of games that came out this year. I guess we'll just start like throwing some
Gears
games.
5.
I think Gears 5 I don't think was good, but I think Gears 5 is definitely a
Gonna be a nominee.
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be nominated for Game of the Year. What else came out?
Borderlands 3.
Borderlands 3 definitely. Super Mario Maker 2. Do you think?
No.
I think Mario Maker had more of an impact than 2 did.
Yeah.
Like that was like, oh my gosh, there's this thing, and then like they gave you the thing, they added a little more stuff, and they're like, it's good. Outer Wilds, 100%. I think Outer Wilds. I'm gonna say it right here. Outer Wilds will get Game of the Year.
I don't think you're right.
I think so. I
Not.
think that. Damn it, Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds.
Outer Wilds will not get Game of the Year.
I also think that Outer Worlds won't get Game
Outer
of the Year.
Worlds will get Game of the Year, I think. What else came out? Games that came out.
Animal Crossing
Comes
is
out next year.
2020.
Yeah, I was like, Animal Crossing.
Anthem.
Anthem will definitely not get. I think Star Wars, if it's good, has potential to be Game of the Year, at least nominee.
Yeah.
The Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I think that has potential to be Game of the Year. What else? What else is coming out this year, people?
Far Cry. New Dawn. Probably not.
I don't think so. It might. Well, see, the thing is, there's a lot of categories at the Game Awards.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Game of the Year.
Game of the Year is just the one that people always are excited for. I have a Game Informer release.
Mortal
of all the
Kombat,
games.
maybe.
Yeah, possibly. I think it will, and it's because it's also broken down into genre.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Smash will definitely win fighter.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, fun fact. So right now, or before, the game that held the highest sales in fighting game ever was Street Fighter 2. Had sold the most copies, and Super Smash Bros. Just passed up Street Fighter in most copies sold. And the Super Smash Bros. Series had just passed up as the best fighting game franchise ever sold as well, which is cool. So Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is now the best-selling fighting game.
Shenmue 3
I don't know.
might get nominated.
Uh,
Team Sonic Racing. Game
Tetris 99. I hope Tetris 99 gets nominated for Game of the
Game
Year.
of the Year.
I want to know. Hold on. I want to look up the Game Awards categories. Game Awards categories, because we can just like break down our whole thing right here. Okay. Oh, there's a lot. Well, some of this is like music, sound design, developer of the year.
Apex, Call of Duty, Death Stranding, Sekiro.
Sekiro will definitely be a nominee. I think Apex will get nominated
Resident
as well.
Evil 2,
Resident Evil 2
Mortal
might
Kombat
win.
11, Devil May Cry 5, Fire Emblem, Borderlands
Fire
3,
Emblem might get in there too.
Kingdom Hearts 3,
Kingdom Hearts 3 might
Tom
be in
Clancy's The Division 2,
there. That one might be
Gears
in there,
5,
too. That one might be in there.
Metro Exodus, Super Mario Maker 2, Luigi's Mansion 3, Planet Zoo, Need for Speed Heat, Outer Wilds.
That's a good game.
Outer Wilds.
I would say, because there's a category for independent game. I think Outer Wilds might win independent game.
I will be so happy.
If Outer Wilds
My
wins.
faith in the world will be restored if Outer Wilds wins.
This is a game that we actually played.
Outer Wilds might be my second favorite game of all time. Actually,
phenomenal.
third. It goes
Go play Outer Wilds.
Slime Rancher, Kentucky Route Zero, Outer Wilds.
Noticing a theme here?
No, they're all indie games.
They're all independent games.
I have a boner for indie games,
He's
though.
an indie boner. But no, if you haven't played Outer Wilds, please do. It's phenomenal. It's so good. Unless you don't have patience, then it's not good. Those stupid anglerfish things, you can't move the controller. Remember that?
Yeah, it's real bad. But that's like part of like figuring it out. Obviously, we used a walkthrough. So like,
Even with the walkthrough, we barely could figure
we
out what was
didn't
going
figure it
on.
out. I think Apex should win Game of the Year. I'm calling it now.
I think that because there's also like games for impact, like impactful games. I think you don't think.
I mean, I think. How am I gonna say this? I think you're right. I think it won't win Game of the Year. It'll probably win some bullshit side category. I think it should win Game of the Year.
No, I was saying that's an impactful game and that it should win Game of the Year. I think my okay, we'll give our predictions to the Game of the Year. I think it's going to be between Apex, Outer Worlds, possibly Star Wars. Star Wars is a huge franchise with a huge cult following.
I'm gonna go
Less so in gaming because of Battlefront, but I think that with a new like story heavy, no multiplayer, no loot box Star Wars, it has potential to be Game of the Year.
I'm gonna go Gears 5.
Oh. We should play Gears 5. We can't because my Xbox doesn't work.
Gears 5, Death Stranding, and Apex.
Death Stranding. See, and what's cool about Death Stranding, that will definitely win Impact. But it's such an experience. Like, a lot of people were talking about Death Stranding, and they're like, it's not good, but it's an experience. Like, it's definitely like an artistic medium, and it's something different than we've ever seen in gaming before. And it's an experience. Is it fun to play? No, sometimes. Sometimes it's not.
What do you think is the closest to Breath of the Wild? Because that was the winner in 2017. Or what was last year's?
God of War.
God of War. What do you think the closest is to like?
The problem with both of those franchises, God of War less, is they both have a huge following behind them. Like there's
Call
so
of
many
Duty.
people behind that. But yeah, Call of Duty's like you don't get a
You
God
shoot
of War.
you shoot a kid in this game.
I know, but
If that's not Game of the Year material, I don't know what is.
you don't have a God of War every year. You don't have a Legend of Zelda. Those are like 5-10 year games where
Borderlands 3.
yeah, I definitely think Borderlands 3 has potential to be Game of the Year. I don't know. If
I hope it's not. It's not good enough.
Yeah. I don't
Apex
think
is a better game.
I
than
don't think its
Borderlands 3.
story was compelling enough. And even like with I would say that the billion guns does make it entertaining finding new guns.
It's still super repetitive.
It is. Not that it's not fun, but I don't think it's Game of the Year fun.
It's not Game of the Year fun.
Apex is Game of the Year fun. I mean, just everything they've put behind it with all of the updates and the new map and the story
100%.
and everything. It's like, I feel like Apex is... I mean, if PUBG can get in the running of Game of the Year, then I definitely think Apex can get in running.
I think
Game of the Year.
if PUBG can get nominated, then Apex should win. Because
the problem was when PUBG came out, Battle Royale was very new. Like, ooh, look at this new thing.
It doesn't matter, and no one listens to me anyway, but my Game of the Year is Apex.
And
if I could get an award and give an award, it would be to Apex Legends, because...
And see, this is another thing I was talking to Kai. I was pitching an idea, and this might be something that we do come close to the Game Awards, is games that we think are going to be Game of the Year in the sense of the Game Awards, and then when the nominees come out, we can choose from those. And then out of the games that we've played this year, so they don't have to necessarily come out this year, but the games that we've experienced this year, what is our Game of the Year?
Yeah.
Like, it could come out 2, 3, 5 years ago.
We play a lot of games.
We play a lot of games, and we play a lot of older games.
So we'll
like,
give you...
we wait for games to come out, and then we buy them cheap because we're smart, and we're not dumb.
J and K's sort of game this year, but not really Game of the Year.
Right.
Awards.
So it's like, if you played... I played Celeste this year. That game came out in 2017. It got nominee for Game of the Year in 2017. I didn't play it until 2019.
We played Kane and Lynch 2 this year, and that is a
game.
strong contender for Game of the Year.
Oh. Talking about games that didn't age well, Kane and Lynch didn't. There was a second one too. There was a sequel.
That was the second.
Oh, that
one.
was the second one?
That is the sequel.
Oh man, I can't even say what the first one looked like. It was not. It was like I was having a stroke the entire time we were playing the game. It just wasn't good. I liked it. Well, see, I was on this path of like, let's just play a bunch of short games that I can beat in like 4 hours.
What was that terrible jungle game that we played where it was like the guy who had superpowers? It was like the Aztec.
I beat that. It
Temple
was
Runner game.
No, it was.
That's not something you should be proud of. I beat that.
Oh God. It was like Adventureville or Adventure. No, it was like the Indiana Jones like spin-off game or whatever. No. I was like, I'm gonna play through it.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the other one where it's the like cartoonish one where you run through the temples and you have superpowers and it's like a comically bad voice acting. Sounds like a giant black guy. You remember playing this?
Maybe just bad at explaining.
Aztec running game where you have superpowers. You're just like an explorer and you get infested with powers. Like in the Aztec temple, like you take the jewel and then like it's like the shadow that takes you over and you become like this huge jacked dude and you're like, hold up. And you don't remember this at all?
I do. It's the black guy.
Yeah, what's
He's
it
the
called?
main character. Oh God. I don't remember.
Come on, Jared.
I
had to sit through like 5 hours of that stupid game.
It's like Mystery Martin or something.
The least you could do is remember the goddamn title.
Xbox 360, Temple, Aztec, Black Man.
I think we also looked it up and it got like a 90% on IGN and we were like, well, that explains a lot about IGN.
That didn't help.
No shocking.
Oh man, I know what you're talking about. It's like something the Barbarian or...
Yeah.
Ow.
Oh my God.
I lost a rubber band on my forehead. Black Man.
It's not important, but that's also probably gonna be. We'll have to actually look through the games we've played this year and compile a real list of our games of the year.
What I'm planning to do if we continue to do this next year is
document
all the games we play.
Our Xbox works.
Might have to get a new one. I mean, it's time to upgrade anyways. I don't think I'm gonna full on go and get the new one next year. I'm just gonna get an Xbox One X and then just have that. And
Black Friday. Get an Xbox One X on Black Friday.
No, I know. Cool. Right now they're $499. And you can get them refurbished for $350. On Black Friday, they have them new for $350 plus I get the Star Wars game. So we can get the new Star Wars game plus Kyle's dying. $50 off plus a $60 game. So it's like, I'll just get the Star Wars bundle and I'll get it on Black Friday. And we can play Star Wars and we can see what that's like. Yeah, those are our Game of the Year predictions.
So to reiterate, Death Stranding, Apex Legends, and what did I say? What was my third one?
I was listening.
What was your three?
My three that I thought had potential for Game of the Year is Outer Worlds, Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order,
and Apex Legends.
and Apex Legends.
And mine was Death Stranding, Apex Legends, and either Call of Duty or Borderlands. I don't remember what I said before. You know what I said before.
I don't
'cause
think
I
it was-
just had said it.
I don't think
so-
it was either one of those, but I could definitely just go look back.
Really? You don't think it was either one of those?
I don't think it was I don't think it was Call of Duty or Borderlands.
Oh, it was Gears 5.
Oh,
Gears 5, Death Stranding, and Apex. Those are my 3 predictions.
We will see who wins, and we will see what the nominees even are. But that is our podcast for the day. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week, possibly, for...
Most likely next week.
Most likely next week for...
The next podcast.
Next week, I will give you a in-depth look at my opinions on Pokemon Sword and Shield because it comes out on Thursday.
Right
Very
in time for the
excited.
pod.
Right in time for the pod. I can play it over the weekend. We record. That's it.
All right.
That's all I got to say.
All right. Stay classy.
Peace out.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
No, you hang up first.
No, you hang up first.